So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. The God's with the king, no matter if you're just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.
Good night, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite sports show. It's not the favorite time of the year right now for me, but who really cares? Let's introduce who is on the show tonight. We have noted Miami Heat fan and also known Suns hater Larry Marshall.
Yes, glad to be here with the Suns facing elimination.
Jeez,
Okay, let's get past that. And
Yeah.
we have fan favorite, obviously, the guy that makes everything run, the glue that holds everything together, none other than our producer, our fellow guest host, Neil Hoyt. What's going on, Neil?
I'm good. I kind of enjoying what's happening in these finals. It's very interesting. I would say the least. I mean, we can get into it, man. But yeah, good. Life good. Can't complain.
That's good.
And everyone knows Marsha works behind the scenes when she's not in front of the camera. We all love you, Marsha. What I don't love is the fact that my Phoenix Suns have given up a 2-0 lead to fall into a 3-2 lead, a 3-2 hole. So very sorry. And win or go home. Game 6 right here in Wisconsin, just an hour and a half down the road in Milwaukee. So Larry, as the guest, we're going to start with you. How can my Phoenix Suns force a pivotal Game 7 on Thursday night?
Well, first of all, no matter what happens in Game 6, they're going home regardless. So,
Oh, yeah. Quite frankly, yes.
but in order for them to me, at the end of Game 5, there were some positives that I saw from their offense that made me think that maybe they could turn the series around. From Games 3 and 4, it felt like they were playing in mud, especially Chris Paul. Their offense is usually one that flows, the ball goes pinging around. They get incremental advantages at different spots, and then they have some very good shooters that can go off that you can't leave open. And then Devin Booker, a dangerous isolation weapon, a very good scorer. He can use those advantages to get very efficient buckets. But in Games 3 and 4, it felt like there was a lot of one-on-one, and especially in Game 5, a lot of one-on-one basketball, which is not Phoenix Suns basketball. And they have to, Monty Williams has to find a way to get Chris Paul going. He has to find a way for him to be able to bend the defenses to get some movement, get Ayton involved, get Brook Lopez out the paint, get Giannis scrambling. But they haven't been able to do that. But one thing about Phoenix is that they shoot the ball very well. And it was amazing that they shot like 55% from the field, 63% from three, 90% from the free throw line, and still somehow lost. I mean
that's different tough. From Game 4, 50% from the field, above 40% from behind the arc, probably 90% from the free throw line, and lost Game 4 too. So I don't know.
Yeah, they need Chris Paul to be able to get the shooters going, because this one-on-one Booker action, as nice as it is, as much as it's giving you all, the Suns a chance to win the game, it feels as though Milwaukee is willing to live with that strategy. They're willing to have Booker score his baskets against contested, very good defenders. So they need to make Milwaukee uncomfortable, and some more team offense, I believe, will do that.
Same question, a different way, I guess. Can the Phoenix Suns force a Game 7, and will they force a Game 7?
I guess you mean me.
Yeah. You would be Neil.
No. No. Sorry. I guess something broke. Okay, I didn't hear you. But anyhow, do I think they can force a Game 7? Yes, I do. I mean, at the end of the day, Phoenix, they're here for a reason. I think they are a very good team. I think that as much as they do have some issues with protecting the ball, the fundamentals of it all, I think that once they protect the basketball and they secure rebounds, particularly the defensive rebound, I think that they'll be fine in terms of because these last two games they've lost by what 3 baskets one way, 2 scores another. Like I feel like if they can tighten those screws, there are some of those offensive rebounds they're giving up that are translating into baskets. There are some turnovers that are translating into baskets. And while in the last game they were kind of negligible in terms of turnovers and rebounds, it still was enough to make a 2 basket difference. So I think that Phoenix can do it. I think that it's going to be very tough because they're going to be on the road in Milwaukee, who can pretty much taste the champagne on the Larry O'Brien Trophy. It's going to be very hard. I think that one thing about the Bucks, they have, we can get into this later, but the Bucks, they have done what they were supposed to do all series long. They haven't really deviated from their game plan, with just a tweak here and there to get Drew Holiday a bit more engaged. But Phoenix, they need to play hard, fundamental basketball. Yes, they're undersized in front court. Yes, they're gonna have some issues with protecting the paint, especially with only Deandre in there getting certain rebounds. But it has to be a collaborative effort on the defensive end when it comes to the securing the rebound, and they have to minimize even the most trivial of turnovers. They have to kind of protect. I know that Drew Holiday is putting pressure on the point guard, specifically Chris Paul, but they really need to be a bit more vigilant in how they take care of the ball. So can they force a game 7? Of course, I think they can force a game 7. Phoenix is a really good guy. They have Devin Booker. I mean, Chris Paul is still a point guard, but at the end of the day, fundamental is really what has Phoenix in this position right now.
Whoa, so I agree with both of you, by the way. But I think so. First, can they force a game 7? I have to believe yes, and not just as a Phoenix Suns fan. But this is still the league's best road team. I thought funny ears there, Larry. But yes, this is still the league's best road team. They've closed out all the previous 3 they've closed out each previous series on the road. That would be Lakers in the first round, the Nuggets in the second, and then the Clippers in the conference finals. So can they? Yes. This is a team that is typically elite on both ends, even though I think Milwaukee is like either 9 or 10-1 at home during these playoffs. So can they? Yes. The more important question is how. And they have to play near perfect basketball because there's a litany of things that the Phoenix Suns have to do. The first thing is that they're going into Milwaukee, and we know what Chris Middleton looks like when he's at home. So they're going to have to do what they did towards the end of Game 5, which is to trap Chris Middleton and get the ball out of his hands and still find a way to build a wall around Giannis. So they don't know how easy or how possible that is. To the point where it has to be everyone else has to beat you. You're going to have to hope, like all series before Game 5, Drew Holiday is missing. You're going to have to hope and pray that Pat Connaughton is missing and he's not. You're going to have to hope that Coach Bud somehow decides to play PJ Tucker more minutes than Pat Connaughton, and that's not been happening. You're going to have to force everyone else not named Chris Middleton and Giannis to hit shots and beat you. And so far in Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5, that's what's been happening. But on top of that, as Neil and Larry said, there are some more, fundamental issues. The Phoenix Suns have to commit to gang rebounding. Milwaukee Bucks, as is constructed, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest team in the entire NBA. So they are very good on the offensive glass. You cannot continue to hope that DeAndre Ayton alone is going to get your defensive rebounds. You're going to have to gang rebound. Phoenix already is playing with a slow pace, so you can't worry about fast break buckets that are already not coming. You're going to have to commit to rebounding. As Neil says, you have to cut out the unforced turnovers. But I think, on Ben to Larry's point, you're going to have to find a way to nullify Drew Holiday on the defensive end. You're just going to have to. Because this series has turned, and we're going to get to this in the next segue. This series turned the moment that Bud put Drew Holiday on Chris Paul at the end of the second Game 2. And what like I alluded to, what Milwaukee has been willing to do to give up are those pick and rolls to Chris Paul and Devin Booker where they're going one on one or whatever switch or whatever mismatch and leading to mid range jumpers. Now, while Devin Booker has been historic over games 4 and games 5 in hitting these shots, the problem is it is not connecting the rest. And the rest of these players are not able to create their own shots. So while Devin Booker is going 1-on-5, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton are sitting down there being like they're just watching. They're not doing anything. So it all comes down to Monty Williams having to find a way to get Chris Paul going, get Drew Holiday off of him, so our offense can be, as Larry said, get the ball moving. Because this stagnant one-on-one offense, Milwaukee's prepared to live with that, and I think this defensive focus has been brilliant. They're willing to let Chris Paul and Devin Booker score mid-range shots over contested defenders, and they're saying once that doesn't equal Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder threes, or Cam Johnson or Cameron Payne, they're willing to live with it. Once it doesn't equate to open threes and easy dunks, Milwaukee's willing to live with that. So to me, the game plan has to be to find a way to take Drew Holiday off of Chris Paul, whether it, I don't know, run multiple screens at him, have Devin Booker start the ball and Chris Paul snake and come off the ball. I don't know, but you have to find a way to free Chris Paul from Drew Holiday. So that being said, in my estimation, I think that's where this turning point has happened. But Neil, I'll start with you. We saw Milwaukee start this series down 2-0. In your estimation, how have the Bucks found a way to turn this series on its head?
Well, in my estimation, I think that, as I said before, it comes down to some discipline, right? It came down to just kind of understanding. Wait, hold on a second. Right, sorry. It came down to understanding what your game plan was, who you are as a team, right? Like we know that Milwaukee, what we know, Giannis can't shoot outside of the paint. We know that Chris Middleton is your closer, right? So Giannis will take you to the promised land for 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarters, Chris Middleton is going to take over. We know that, as you rightly said, Justin, that Milwaukee is one of the biggest teams in the NBA. They have size over the Phoenix Suns. We know that Drew Holiday is a dog. We know that he is one of the best, if not the best, point guard defensively, or wing defender in the league. We know that he's capable also on the offensive end. We know that there are the others like Pat Connaughton and some others that can hit the three ball and play a bit of defense. So their game plan, other than Drew Holiday, has remained pretty much the same. Now, once you engage Drew Holiday and you say, "Look, Drew, here at you. We don't really care if you score, if you know, don't get on yourself if the basket's not scoring, if the basket's not dropping. We need you to clamp up. We need you to clamp up anybody at point guard for the Phoenix Suns." And he's doing that. So I think when you look at how they turn the series, I think it comes down to consistency. And I know if my man Dwayne Marcus was here, he would have something to say about it. But you know, the leadership of Giannis Antetokounmpo, we've seen the video of Giannis in the timeout in these guys' ear, kind of yelling and motivating and shouting. I don't gather that he's like berating the players or anything like that, a la Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. But he is seemingly motivating the players. He's letting them know we're in the finals. We have to play hard. Every possession counts. You can see his leadership. So once you combine all of those things, man, Bud kind of realizing, shoot, you know, I realize I in the finals, I better coach a little something at least for a quarter or two. You know what I mean? Like maybe I should just make some adjustments here and there. Like it is coming to fruition. So to speak on a one way or one reason that Milwaukee turned around this season, I can't speak to just one. It is a combination thing. Giannis has been spectacular. I think that Chris Middleton, yes, we know he has his struggles here and there, but once he kind of understands, look, you don't need to do much in the first 3 quarters. Just, you know, find your range, find how you're shooting it, find whatever. But coming down in the clutch in the fourth, we're going to really need you to have, especially in that ISO ball or pick and roll situation, we can really look to find you to score those mid-range jumpers and those off the dribble jumpers. So, you know, they're committed to defense. They're committed to boxing out and grabbing the defensive rebound, and they're also committed to just hustling on the offensive end and getting those offensive rebounds. Their defense has been great. You know, their offense has been great. I just think that they're sticking to their game plan. They're being very consistent and very disciplined in what they do, and it's becoming successful. Especially now that you have an engaged Drew Holiday.
Same question, Larry. How did the Bucks turn this series on its head?
Before I get on my like Phoenix Suns hate in another segment, piggyback off who kind of what Neil was getting at a bit. I saw a tweet. I can't remember. This tweet was like about a month ago in the Atlanta series, and the person said, even if the Bucks win the championship, he would fire Budenholzer after the parade. And that was during the Atlanta series.
That may have been my
burner count. Yeah.
And how far have we come since then? I mean, it's not been an easy road for the Bucks. I mean, it kind of has been with the amount of injuries and absences, but it hasn't. I mean, in terms of like the criticism, the moves that Bud makes that always gets scrutinized by the media, and yes, present company included. And then we get to this series, and then they get dusted pretty much in the first two games. And you look at it like everybody had Milwaukee dead to rights. Bud is awful. Giannis is hurt. And what really changed, I think, is Giannis being like in game one, Giannis wasn't Giannis. He played, but he wasn't 100%. And I think the series really turned around when not only did Giannis play, but he was the best player in this series. Game two, he scored 42 points. And I think they played, as Justin said, in the combination of Drew Holiday being put on Chris Paul. I think the Bucks played like a really, really good game in game two. It's just Phoenix was hitting every single three-pointer, which they're a good shooting team and they can. But then they went back home to Milwaukee and Giannis continued being the best player. And Phoenix, in addition with the injury to Sarge, I mean, Sarge can't guard Giannis either way, but still, you know, he would have been an option, a bad option, but an option, you know. And I think Giannis being the head and shoulders best player in this series is what really turned the series around, I would have to say. And Game 5 really showed, to me, was really one of the best IQ games that I've seen Giannis play. It seemed like he was reading the game on like a LeBron level. And Giannis, I mean, me and you've talked privately about this, Justin, but the Bucks not necessarily a high IQ team. They play with a lot of heart, effort, physicality, but you wouldn't, due to their shot selection, due to some of the turnovers that Drew makes, you can look at this team and say, you know, this team is not like, you know, like the 15, 16 Warriors where Draymond is making these reads all over the court, Steph Curry, you know, like years ahead. But it really seemed as though Giannis had like the Phoenix Suns figured out like scheme-wise, and that was really impressive. So that's my answer. I think Giannis being the best player overall, dominant player in this series, MVP candidate in this series is what turned the series for me.
I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to go one step further and say, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, even if the Phoenix Suns win this series, I still put Giannis as the MVP of the finals because that is how great he has been. And I want to say, like, when you look at his plus minus over the course of the series, during losses, during wins, the man still has a positive plus minus. It's just ridiculous. That's just to show how consistently, forget good, how consistently great he has been, and not just this series, but the entire playoffs. I don't think, with the exception of maybe Kevin Durant in the same Bucks series, that there has been a better playoff performer this playoffs than Giannis Antetokounmpo. But for me, it's not Giannis. I mean, and I'm not disagreeing or saying that y'all are wrong, but Giannis has been consistently great throughout. Even though game one, he wasn't really his, you know, consistently great self. I'm going to say, as I mentioned earlier, what changed this series for me is the moment that Bud put Drew Holiday to mark CP3.
Are you praising Bud?
I'm going to actually just wait till next segment that you're going to be shocked on which show you're arguing. Like,
Maybe
his
Drew
first
Holiday
take,
suggested it to him.
like they're going to wonder if this is first things first or first take because they're not going to believe the words out of my mouth in the next segment.
Oh boy.
But not to preview that much. Yeah, the moment that Drew Holiday marked Chris Paul, I think this series just changed for the worse for our team because we saw in game one especially, Phoenix was just headhunting matchups, whether it was Brook Lopez or whether it was Bobby Portis coming off the bench. Chris Paul and Devin Booker were headhunting matchups, and then Pat Connaughton. Now it's like the Bucks have realized, okay, these two are great mid-range scorers. So be it. We're going to live with that once the others don't get involved. So put Drew Holiday here or whoever. So if Chris Paul's on the court and he's the person facilitating that pick and roll, put Drew Holiday here. When Chris Paul is off and it's Devin Booker, put Drew Holiday here. And that has changed the series because now Milwaukee has figured out they don't need to overhelp. And in not overhelping now, you can see often stretches. Mikal Bridges is going quiet. Jay Crowder has gone quiet. Deandre Ayton has had zero impact in the series, no matter what the stats say. Cam Payne, Cam Johnson, they're just there. They are willing to let the Suns go one-on-one in mid-range with Drew Holiday like bumping Chris Paul around. And it is not a surprise that the media is asking why all of a sudden Chris Paul is bad in games 3, 4, and 5. To the point, and this is what disgusts me the most, is that you're hearing excuses now. Is he hurt? Is he injured? No, he's not hurt. He is being guarded by arguably, as Neil pointed out, the best perimeter defender in the game right now in Drew Holiday. And
he did say he was hurt, wasn't he?
Before you can hear that. Where were those injuries in games 1 and 2?
I agree with you, but he did say he had torn ligaments in his hand before the series, right?
Yeah, I heard all that, but there was.
But I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying, like,
you were.
Yeah.
We heard that, but where was that talk in games 1 and games 2?
Like Steph Curry in 2016. Oh, he couldn't shit. Kevin Love, he's hurt. Yeah, but when he was marching Portland the series before, he was all well and good.
It was like one of those finals LeBron James lost against the same Warriors. When you dropped 50 in game 1, and then when they were finishing the sweep, and your hand is over the cast. Like, seriously? Like really?
You want
to punch the wall after game 1, though. When J.R. Smith, the infamous.
but here's my thing, right? Games 1 and games 2, we were hearing about this point guard and CP3 being finals MVP. And all of a sudden, no, he's hurt. No. His feelings have been hurt because the best perimeter defender has put him under lock and key, like Drew Holiday, in my estimation. And that's why I have not been too hard on what Drew Holiday has been doing or not been doing at the other side of the floor. Because on the defensive end, he has turned this series on its head just by taking away Chris Paul and forcing him to become an ISO scorer and not pick and roll. And not enough. And I mean, if Milwaukee finishes this series as great comeback and wins it all, there's no doubt about that Giannis should be the MVP. I've even said that regardless of the result, for me, Giannis has been the MVP. But I honestly think the game changer has been what Drew Holiday has done on the defensive end, particularly to Chris Paul since the end of game 2. You heard me in the same chat, Larry. I was so concerned at the end of game 2, and all that happened was that Phoenix was just in a barrage of threes to keep them at bay. But the reality is we got away with game 2 because Drew Holiday really changed that game at game 3, games 4, and games 5 when, and it's not a coincidence that Chris Paul has really been a shell of himself in these games. It's really been Drew Holiday.
On that note, on a side note, did you see the rhetoric on Twitter with like CJ McCollum and Spencer Dinwiddie making suggestions that maybe Chris Middleton should be Finals MVP? You saw that?
No, they didn't see that. But what he unfortunately had to see was Stephen A. Smith uttering that same rubbish rhetoric, right? And unfortunately, they didn't do enough homework to put Giannis' stats here, right? But I'm sure one of the two of you will hunt it down eventually, right? What Giannis is doing in these finals, right, is almost historic. It has just been mind-blowing. As I said, even in the first 2 losses, his he still has a positive plus minus. We have to get away from this Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, heroic game fourth quarter nonsense. Yes, it looks good, right? But there is nothing wrong with the man dominating the first three quarters. There's nothing wrong with the guy dominating the game and not shooting jump shots to do that. If me personally, Justin Marvel, could dunk every single basketball or lay up everyone, well, he would do it. I'm quite sure every single guard who takes threes, if you told them, hey, Damian Lillard, you can dunk and lay up every possession. Is he going to take threes or he's going to dunk and lay up? He's going to dunk and lay up. How have we got into a basketball viewing public where we are upset because a man averages over 33 points a game on dunks and layups? How have we become this society?
Be like James
Because
Harden
all
and
the
say that he
time,
ain't skilled.
Mamba mentality.
yes, a man is not skilled, but he gets to the rim at will. Are we serious? This man is not shooting 40%. This man is not shooting 50%. I'm certain this man is shooting 60% from the field on dunks and layups. And you're telling me because he does not take a shot outside of the key that this is problematic? The last time I checked, when James Naismith made this game, he made it with the intention to put the basketball through the hoop. And I don't care how that comes. If you are putting the basketball through the hoop at efficient rate, what is the complaint? Who cares if you're not scoring jump shots? I can assure you, the Bucks and Coach Budenholzer do not care where Giannis's points come from. They just care that they're there. That's what I'm just answering now. I'm not sure if Neil wanted to chime in on that.
No, I mean, I completely agree, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the objective of the game of basketball, regardless of what anybody says, is to put the ball into the basket. And Giannis does that very well, especially for three quarters. So if he's able to do that at a high clip, he's getting the ring. We all know that Phoenix is undersized in their front court, in the paint. They're not really protecting it. Let him out eat. Let him out enjoy himself. To me, yes, Chris Middleton closing out. But it's not even just that, about Chris Middleton, is that Giannis has been consistent in doing what he does. He has done it every game in these finals. It is like, I feel as though we see his play, we look at the numbers and we're like, oh, he ain't dribbling down the ball with 2 minutes left in the game and, shot clock at 3 seconds and hitting a fadeaway jumper over two defenders. Like, all right, that's cool. That's nice. That's good hero ball. But at the end of the day, still, you don't have to do that if you got a man literally having his way for three quarters, 3.5 quarters.
Sorry to cross you, Neil, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, right? Here's how ridiculous we've gotten as a basketball viewing public. A man has more points than you. He has more rebounds than you. He has more assists than you. And he has more blocks than you. And you're saying he should not be the finals MVP. How have we gotten here?
It is ridiculous. And if you watch the games, right, I don't even see how watching the games you would get, because it shows that you're a prisoner of the moment. Like, I watched Chris Middleton in game 4. He hit some, I think, 3 or so big baskets back to back to back. I think he scored like 9 straight or something like that from Chris Middleton at the end of that game. Granted, in that microcosm, in that short span of 2-3 minutes, he looks really nice. You know what I mean? He's, coming off a screen. He's taking care of the mismatches. He's hitting those fadeaways over mid-range fadeaways over like DeAndre Ayton or over Crowder. It looks nice. But I just don't understand how we quickly forget the 3 quarters that came before, the 3 3/4 quarters that came before. Like, Giannis is proving that he will make the right play outside of shooting the basketball. I just don't understand. He is making all of the right plays on offense and defense. The only thing is he's not shooting the ball, but we all know that. So to say that he is not impacting the game has changed. The game has changed from when big men used to dominate it to when guards used to dominate it. I know we are seeing a hybrid. We're seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo dominating the game in ways that he can do it. It gives Chris Middleton the ability to, I don't want to say coast or take it easy, but it gives him the energy where the defense is focusing for 3 quarters on Giannis, a man that you can't stop from getting to the ring or the free throw line, even though you can't shoot free throws very well, but you can't stop the man. So you were so worried and wrapped up as Phoenix about Giannis Antetokounmpo that when Chris Middleton come now in the last 3-4 minutes of the game and he is now creating offense for himself, it's like you now have to readjust your strategy, and you have to readjust it so vastly from what you're doing from Giannis. Is that if you commit to that, then he's gonna have fun. Chris Middleton is going to eat. If you stay with the Giannis Antetokounmpo strategy with Chris Middleton, he's going to eat too. So it's like it's a pick your poison kind of thing. And to say that Giannis is not the MVP of these finals, shoot, that's retarded. I think that it would be interesting to see. I mean, if Phoenix were to pull it off and win Game 7 and carry home the championship, it would be interesting to see who they determine is the, particularly if Giannis continues playing the way he's. I think that it would be one of those things where, made history, two small market teams, two teams that haven't been to this level or won a championship in so many decades. Let's go the whole Jerry West route and give the MVP to Giannis.
Well, just some stats here. Points in the paint for this finals. Giannis, 108 at 78%.
Oh my God.
From the field. Ayton is second with 51 at 60%. Booker with 44 at 55%, which is pretty good. Holiday, 42. And Lopez, 36. So just some stats about Giannis's dominance.
To wrap this up, right, Larry, to answer your question, we were talking off here. This reminds me of the black Italian dude, the TikToker, where everybody does their fancy thing. Like, so they find it fancy way to peel the banana.
Yeah. Fancy ways to score the basketball. Shoot it from half.
Everyone is finding this fancy way to score the basketball, and Giannis is like,
Born true.
The hoop is right there. That's all they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
So, Larry, I'll start with you this time. For all we said, who do you credit most in Milwaukee for this huge turnaround?
The huge who do I credit the most? Well, I already gave Giannis a lot of credit. So maybe it's time to give Bud some credit, maybe?
Oh, no, no. Oh, no, Justin. Some Bud love? Buddy love?
So, Jeff Van Gundy talks a lot about sometimes the best adjustment isn't to do things differently. It's just to do what you've been doing better. And I think if the Bucks win the title, I think it would be bittersweet for Bud, where in 2019, he got criticized for not having a flexible defense, where a team that doesn't want to get to the rim, the Bucks protect the rim at all costs, and these teams that don't want to get to the rim just say, okay, well, these open threes, thanks. And they just bomb away, and then the Bucks lose. They did that again in 2020 in the bubble against Miami, where Miami just didn't want to get, well, to be fair, we don't want to get to the rim, but we were killing them from behind the arc. And they were letting us get to the rim anyhow because their defenses were so bent. And the Bucks lost again. So now, even in these these playoffs where they've had Trae Young, a guy that just wants to shoot floaters, and they were letting him shoot floaters, Bud actually made the adjustments to switch, which worked for some at point in times. And now in this finals, I think it's bittersweet for Bud, where he can say, well, my strategy of denying the rim at all costs and forcing teams to shoot mid-range jumpers at all costs is finally working for the Bucks, and it looks as though from this point it's going to help them win a championship. So I'm going to give Bud a pat on his back. His first pat on the back on this program comes from me, not you, Justin. Sorry, you should have went first.
Neil, is this Bud? Is this Giannis? Is this Drew Holiday? Is this Chris Middleton? A combination of all four? Who deserves the most credit?
I said it before and I'll say it again. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, Larry said, he said it very well that Bud is just doing what Bud does. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's staying his course. He knows that there were two bad first games, and he's essentially weathering the storm. He weathered the storm, with his philosophy in terms of certain things he did. He made one or two adjustments, particularly what Justin said, and put in Drew Holiday on Chris Paul to kind of slow down that offense. But really and truly, it's Giannis. I mean, Giannis is driving. He is the heart, and so I don't want to use these superlatives and all this here, but he really is the engine that could for the Bucks. I mean, the man is making sure that they go. He is playing at his highest level. on both on offense and defense. The numbers are incredible. It's just I see the guys laughing. We all laugh at that. Oh,
Yeah, you said Giannis is driving, and you should have finished with the
the bus.
bus.
Yeah. You're
He's
right.
driving
You're right.
the
You're
bus.
right. You're right. You're right. You should be driving the bus. Who ain't in the bus under it? So yeah, that's a little inside joke. But yeah, we do live in a results-oriented world. I,
You
all
do.
right, I can behave. I can behave. I can behave. But no, Giannis is playing at a very high level, and he is making sure, like you can see in the timeouts. I can say it again. He's in the timeouts, he's in everybody here. He's making sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be. The intensity is up. Everything like that. He's letting the coach. He's letting the players do what they have to do. He's picking up the players. Like to me, if we are gonna credit one person, if Giannis Antetokounmpo, if that heaven forbid that injury had kept him out of this series, this Bucks team would have been home already or in Cancun because Phoenix would have already won this game in 4 or 5. But Giannis is the difference maker. The Bucks are doing their strategy. They really have not made humongous changes in their defensive and offensive strategies, right? They're doing the same things they're doing. Bud is sticking to his philosophies. So in the end of it all, take out Bud, I still think we'd be same place. Take out Drew, probably not Drew, but I think Giannis is that guy. Giannis has the Bucks on the verge of getting a championship for the first time in 50, how many years? Like, this crazy. So, to me, the credit has to go all the way to Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is the Greek freak. He is that guy. Drew Holiday, yes, he would get an honorable mention. Chris Middleton get an honorable mention. But will definitely get an honorable mention. Shout out Justin Marvel. But no, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So again, as I said, regardless of the result, for me, Giannis Antetokounmpo has to get like Finals MVP in my estimation. Right, he has been by far and away the best player in this series, and later in the show we'll get to how great he's been. But for me, he was great over the first 2 games. And if you're going to ask me who is most, to credit for this turnaround, yeah, Marshy might want to record this, and if Dwayne Marcus is watching, and Larry for prosperity, it's Coach Mike Budenholzer.
Wait, hold on. Let me switch to the closer to get to say it properly, man. Hold on a second. Go ahead. The mic is yours.
Coach Mike Budenholzer.
Hold on. Let me pull up the name tag too. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to have to say this as the biggest detractor of Mike Budenholzer. I'm now going to come and give him his credit.
His flowers.
His flowers, as he always say. He is the person you have to credit the most for this turnaround. If we're going to say that Drew Holiday turned this series on his head with his defense on Chris Paul, you have to credit Mike Budenholzer for putting him there. Granted, I don't know why that was not the case from the jump. However, he did put him there. He made that adjustment from the end of game 2. In game 1, as our friend VJ Reed is in the chat was talking about how Devin Booker and Chris Paul were making Brook Lopez almost unplayable. Well, Budenholzer made the adjustment of playing Brook Lopez less. Yes, he still starts, but he played him significantly less to play 4 guards around Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's paid dividends because Milwaukee's best lineups are when Giannis is at the 5. Again, PJ Tucker, while being great on the defensive end, was not hitting shots. Now he's made way for Pat Connaughton, and Pat Connaughton has been hitting the 3 at above, I want to say 50% in this series, and has been averaging more minutes than PJ Tucker in this series. And as we all said, Mike Budenholzer, after the first 2 games, did not freak out. He did not panic. All he did was make sure we're going to stick with this philosophy. If they're going to beat us, they're going to have to beat us scoring mid-range jumpers over contested defenders. We are not giving up open threes. We are making sure to hit the defensive glass hard, and we're not going to turn over the basketball. Mike Budenholzer. And one of the biggest, changes in the series is that he has taken the ball out of Giannis' hands in the fourth quarter and put it in Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday's hands. All of these are adjustments that Budenholzer has made. Like, honestly, and you have to say credit to Giannis Antetokounmpo for being the, as Larry likes to mention, the egoless superstar that is comfortable not having the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter to make it all work. He's selfless. He is willing in fourth quarters to be the guy to set the screen, roll hard to the rim, get the offensive rebound, or just get the roll. And it's comfortable watching Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday finish games. I hear him in press conferences say, I don't care if I'm the guy who's scoring all the first three quarters and they finish. Oh, we just want to finish games. He doesn't care. But again, the adjustment has to be made by Mike Budenholzer. You know me, I'm his biggest detractor, but no, I have to give him full praise. Like, all of these things have Mike Budenholzer's fingerprints on them. I don't want to say he's outcoached Monty Williams because I think Monty Williams has been put in between a rock and a hard place especially when Dario Saric went out. Like, there are very few options for, Monty Williams to play with this small Phoenix Suns lineup.
Jalen Smith?
We'll get to that another time. But, yeah, Marshall, you can record this. The person who you have to give all the credit to is none other than Mike B.
No, we got it. We have it clipped already. You don't worry about it. We have. I hope though, because you're the person. Hold on, you're the guy that edits the clips to put out on the various social media come tomorrow. So I hope that goes up too.
That will be the first clip. I can't believe I'm saying this, but that will be the first clip going out tomorrow.
You should have put like a little clown makeup on his face while he was talking.
If I knew, if only knew. You see, I think that's why he didn't tell me what.
Here.
Yeah.
Red nose.
I would have got a little filter here, so for him, ready and waiting.
So we're in the sports media world. So where there's credit, we have to dole out blame. And
your favorite segment.
I mean,
of course, I was waiting for this.
I think, and you know what? I think when I saw the running order, I saw that segment. I say, I wonder if Justin would. Because I know either you or Larry would talk about, but then when I saw the Chris Paul segment, I was like, here's the vent. No, here's the venom.
Yeah.
So me, I'm not a kumbaya guy. I'm not Optimus Prime. I'm
amongst the Suns community.
I've had been called before, and rightfully so. I'm a doom merchant. So let's go. If Bud is to get most of the praise for the Bucks turning the series around, and I'm going to start with you, Larry. Who should shoulder most of the blame for the Phoenix Suns? Is it indeed Chris Paul?
This is going to hurt because I'm a huge Chris Paul fan from the time he was drafted all the way.
I had no idea. I would not have seen that coming in the pre-production meeting. I had no idea that.
I've been back to Chris Paul when he was on the Clippers, on the Rockets, on that crappy OKC team last year. This is going to hurt. Chris Paul, if you look at his stats from Game 5, it looks great, but he did not have 10 assists, 1 turnover, 9 of 16 shooting, some big baskets late, but he was pretty much terrible the entire game. Like a non-factor, I would say, not present. And then he was being attacked on the defensive end because Chris Paul is a good defender, but at the end of the day, he's by far the smallest player on the court. Milwaukee is a huge team. They're playing a shooting guard in Middleton, if you want to call him a shooting guard, small forward, who's 6'8". Drew Holiday, 6'4", 210, pretty strong, and they're just walking through him for layups, easy jumpers. Chris Paul is the GOAT. Games 1 and 2. You know what? He's hurt. Yeah, he's hurt. It's not his fault. He's injured. He had that torn ligament from the Clippers series. He had COVID. It's a struggle for Chris. He can't be blamed. Let's blame someone else. Blame Monty Williams. Blame Devin Booker for his 1-on-5 Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality basketball. But seriously, Chris Paul, after Game 2, and he's not been able to figure out Drew Holiday at all. He's been, funny enough, he scored a lot on Giannis, which is amazing, but can't score on Drew. The turnovers were bad in Milwaukee games 3 and 4. He had 4 and 6 respectively. He had one that in that crazy one in the game where he just did a crossover and just lost the ball in Game 4. I mean, he's not been himself, I would say. I mean, is it the defense? Is it the injury? Is it the fact that he's 36 years old and playing a deep playoff run, which he's never done before in his life? I mean, as a Chris Paul fan, I'm going to come up with plenty of excuses, right? So, yeah, it's his fault, but I'm going to cape for him. I'm going to cape. Injuries. Injuries and COVID, yeah.
No one wants to hear that.
COVID.
Neil,
Yeah, injuries
please,
and COVID.
please save the show, Neil, and I don't mean behind the scenes in production. Please save the for the nonsense that's going on. Does Chris Paul deserve much of the blame for Phoenix dropping 3 straight games?
I don't want to get on the no, I don't want to get on the Chris Paul hate train. I do think that he is a big reason why it is unfortunate why he's such a great player and he has always proven to be a very what they call heady player and makes great decisions with the ball. But it's unfortunate that you know I don't want to say it, man. I real sorry. I like Chris Paul, just like Larry. I believe that he's a great player, but I think that the lack of size is really was the reasoning why they're not playing better. Because at the end of the day, they're undersized. Um, they're not protecting the ball properly. I think fundamentally they're making a lot of mistakes in terms of protecting the basketball, in terms of making the right plays and everything like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a all Chris Paul hated thing. I think you have Devin Booker is playing really well. We see that Cam Johnson, Cameron Payne, they're playing pretty well. Unfortunately, they now have to deal with Drew Holiday being on the defensive end guarding most of the ball handlers. So if I were to point the blame, I would point the blame at the lack of size, and we can get into this a little later on in the show where we're going to talk about the what I guess what Phoenix can do to kind of deal with their contracts or whatever. But I think one of the things they need to do is address their size and how they go about making sure that the bottom the front court as well. Sorry, I a bit distracted. I trying to make to make a little adjustment here, but yeah, I think that Phoenix is really to blame. I see Larry like he is gone. Larry still there?
I
No.
think we've lost him, which is a positive for the show considering the blasphemy that he was putting out there
Oh
for
no.
giving Chris Paul excuses.
Mm-hmm.
I joke, of course, but you want my take? I'm not going to give Chris Paul all of the blame, but he has to shoulder a lot of it. As the two of you mentioned, these turnovers and a lot of them unforced. Well, I can't say unforced because Drew Holiday is indeed one of the best, if not the best, perimeter defender in the NBA right now. Yeah, these turnovers are coming. He has not been the same player, and he has not been able to facilitate or pilot the offense that Phoenix has been known to have, the elite offense. He's not been able to get Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges involved simply because of how the Bucks have played that pick and roll and what Drew Holiday has done to effectively pick him up 90 feet. And I would get,
Injuries.
yeah, whatever. I don't want to hear that. We didn't hear that games 1 and 2. Yeah, it's been a lot of it has to do with Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul was dreadfully bad in Game 5. No, Game 4, sorry. Game 5, the stats are going to look good, as Larry said. But for 3/4 of Game 5, Chris Paul looked almost unplayable. Not only offensively because he was doing absolutely nothing, to the point that Monty had to change to ISO Booker to keep Phoenix in the game. But defensively as well, it was to a point where, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Milwaukee clearly targeted Chris Paul, whether with Drew Holiday and jump shots or layups, or with Chris Middleton. They sat down and targeted him. He could not defend anyone. It got so bad, folks. I was in the chat with both Larry and Neil on the show, and I begged for Monty to sub him to put Cam Johnson in the game because at least at his size and shot making, none of the two Chris Paul is providing right now. It really got bad, and then I don't want to just single out Chris Paul, but if you have to start with one, and where the turnovers in Game 4, especially, were extremely bad. He had 5 to 17. But if Chris Paul is 1A, 1B is DeAndre Ayton. And again, people are going to say how the stats look good. Neil mentioned that, or I think Larry mentioned how, he's been scoring efficiently. But Milwaukee is to the point they are not afraid of DeAndre Ayton or even concerned
You're
with.
maybe a host node, Justin. Let's go. Bring it on. Come.
I'm going to bring home the point.
Let me go.
Milwaukee is unconcerned, or not rather, extremely unconcerned with what DeAndre Ayton does. And this is not me hating on him. On those pick and rolls, I'll get to you shortly. On those pick and rolls, right? Milwaukee is prepared to switch because they don't care what DeAndre Ayton is doing on that roll. DeAndre Ayton is not rolling to the rim hard to finish on hard dunks. He's not finishing in the lane strong. Yes, he may score, but as you heard me over the years, my primary problem with DeAndre Ayton is that he does not finish strong. He does not dunk. He does not play strong in the paint. He's not rolling hard on those pick and rolls. And most importantly for me, he's not getting offensive rebounds, which is not a huge thing for me. But if you're not getting offensive rebounds, you can't be getting beaten in transition or defense either. It is one of the two. How are you not getting back? For Brook Lopez, the slowest player, the biggest and slowest player in this entire series, has beaten you consistently down the court for baskets, whether it be him or whether it be Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you are not attempting to get offensive rebounds. It can't be both. DeAndre Ayton has put no pressure on Milwaukee at either end. They're not concerned with what he does on the pick and roll, as evidenced when Giannis blocked him to finish game 4. And they're not concerned on the defensive end because they're still going at the rim. Giannis is not being deterred by him. Drew Holiday is not being deterred by him. Everyone is going at the rim because they are not afraid of DeAndre Ayton defensively and definitely not offensively. So if 1A is Chris Paul, 1B is DeAndre Ayton. Take it away, Larry.
Let's get the good out the way. He's only 22 years old. He's young, but from Bahamas, great story. You can only play what's in front of you. And the Suns have had pretty much a cakewalk through these finals. Let's get to it now. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. In the first round, AD got hurt. LeBron James was injured. There was no one. I mean, let's be real. Drummond, I think, got DNP-CD because he was basically unplayable. So Ayton had to go up against Marc Gasol. Easy, right?
And the former 6th man of the year, but yes, pretty much.
Oh, a 6'6" player. But okay,
yes.
What to do? Let's remember that Ayton was selected over Trae Young and Luka Doncic, but that's for another show, okay?
It is.
Second of all, they played against Denver. Okay, pretty weak team because no Jamal Murray, no Barton, no guards that could create, nobody that could put. Because Jokic was the end-all, be-all, they were not able to put Ayton in any rotations or anything because the ball started with Jokic. All Ayton had to do was stand there and be big. Easy matchup. Clippers, no Kawhi. Next. No, in this series, the fact that Giannis is healthy and Brook Lopez is also a large human being, Ayton can't just be the biggest player on the court and feast against inferior talents. And as you were saying, nobody is afraid of him. He's not a good rim protector. He's not good in the pick and roll. He just gets empty putbacks. First of all, he's a dependent player. Without Chris Paul and without Devin Booker, Monty Williams does not trust Ayton enough to get his own baskets. So if it's not off of offensive rebound putbacks or Chris Paul, snaking and doing his fancy thing for points, Ayton is not going to have any impact on the game. And to be honest, that's no different from a player like DeAndre Ayton or Zubac or Miles Turner. And because of how he's played in these playoffs, people think that Ayton is like oh, he's worthy of the number one pick. He could win a ring before Luka. This selection was justified. No, absolutely not. No, we live in a results-oriented world, and the results are showing the Suns are getting their behind kicked, and Ayton can't do anything about it.
And as we talked about off camera, Larry, the problem is Ayton has to continue playing because we don't have a big player to put on the court, especially with the injury to Dario Saric.
Giannis Smith?
Oh boy, that's a situation for another day. But shout out to my guy James Jones, a friend of the show, who hopefully we will get in the coming weeks. So that being said, we talked about Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, and we kind of dumped on them. The issue is with Phoenix going into this offseason, 2 of those 3 players are going to have to be paid. And again, I'll start with Larry. Chris Paul is an impending free agent, and both DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges are up for rookie extensions, if my memory serves me correct. So, Larry, what should the Phoenix Suns do with these 3 players?
Easy answer is I think they have to pay all 3. Now, the dollars, not even if I wouldn't give Ayton the max, but let's say Sarver just gave Ayton the max just for this conversation. It's just money. Like, it's not a big deal. The Suns will be over the salary cap anyhow, so it doesn't really matter per se. But I think Mikal Bridges would be my priority number 1 because he's shown to be
over both CP3 and Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul and DeAndre and Mikal Bridges
will be my number 1 priority. Now, Chris Paul kind of controls his own destiny because I think he has a player option that he can opt out of. And who knows, maybe he wants to go somewhere else, play with LeBron for his last year. Who knows? Like, I don't think the Suns necessarily are in control. So if Chris Paul leaves, I mean, I won't hold that against the Suns. But let's say Chris Paul wanted to come back on a new deal. That's rough because he's going to want a lot of money. And he's 36, and maybe he wants to play 3 more seasons. Do you want to be paying Chris Paul over $40 million at age 39? That is a real tough question. And I believe that because of this playoff run, James Jones will probably convince Sarver to do it. I mean, when you make the finals, everyone is going to be like, oh, but you have to go back. You have to, what's the phrase? You run it back.
Run it back.
But if this team runs it back, like, do any of you think that there'd be any favorite to get back here?
Depends on the development of young players, but have to be realistic. And I would say they're not the best team in the West if everyone is healthy. No.
Okay, well, in that case, then, I mean, that's a real tough decision. At the end of the day, it's only money. So, and it's Sarver's money. So if he wants to keep the team together, I don't think that's like going to be like a huge like detriment to the franchise because at least Chris Paul is going to keep them competitive. And if you're going to pay Ayton like $25 million plus, you're paying Booker the max, and Mikal Bridges deserves to be paid. Maybe not max money, but he should be paid more than Ayton. To me, I think he's just that good. I mean, he shoots the 3 extremely well. Defends his position extremely well. Good in transition, good finisher. I mean, he's probably like the best, not the best 3-and-D player in the league, but up and coming because he's still young. So, and you wouldn't have cap space. So if Chris Paul leaves, it's not like you're going to have cap space to sign a different free agent. So I would say, to answer your question, I guess this is a long answer version. Yeah, I would pay all 3.
I know you're a bit busy there with production value, but I'll keep it quickly. Should the Phoenix Suns give big contracts to all 3 players? Oh, and to add to Larry's or give information to what Larry was saying, Chris Paul, apparently the news is he plans to opt out in search of a 3-year, $100 million contract. So yes, Larry, he does want to play till 39 and on a huge contract. So, O'Neal, should the Suns give Chris Paul that 3-year, $100 million contract and pay DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges as well?
No. Oh, you want him more? No. I don't think they should. No, I don't think they should pay Chris Paul that money because at 36, multiple injuries. Yes, he is a very good player, but at the end of the day, still, I think what they need, as I mentioned earlier in the show, they do need size down low. They do need size in their front court. DeAndre Ayton, God bless his soul, he is really doing his best. He's playing um, his best basketball in the NBA. He is looking really well, but it's just him. Unfortunately, Cyrus was injured. They don't have any backup or replacement for him. When he's out of the game, they go really small. So I think what Sarver should do is, yes, Mikal Bridges, I agree completely with Larry. Got to pay Mikal Bridges. You have to pay DeAndre Ayton, not necessarily mass money, but you have to make sure that they're well compensated. Chris Paul, I ain't giving $109 for 3 years. I would take some of that money and ensure that we have some semblance of front court, some semblance of down low. I say we, but like I don't rate the Suns like that. But no,
Imagine the Suns team.
no, not we. There's gonna be LA Suns, but no.
Are they in the same division as the Lakers?
Yeah. I don't.
So you want the team to get worse?
You mean the Suns? Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Get Chris Paul max money. Yeah, I think that you should be paying him 5 years. 300 or somebody million. Do that. No, seriously, Chris Paul shouldn't get that thing. I think they should bolster their roster to try to get some big goal from court. Because as Larry very much said, the goal is to repeat, get back to the finals or win the championship again. The unfortunate thing is that so many teams are gonna come back with blood in their eyes next season. Have the Lakers, Golden State, Denver, the Jazz. So many teams are gonna essentially the Clippers. I wouldn't say get better, but they may be healthy come this time next year. And you need to have a big front court and a big down low presence to to protect the paint, protect the key defensive rebounds. We're seeing it here now. Offensively, the Bucks are having their way in terms of rebounding. So I would spend some money on the front court for the Phoenix Suns if I were Sarver.
Well, before we go on, Justin, one quick question to Neil.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what the team looks like without Chris Paul, right? Without Chris Paul, right? So you're just willing, if you were like a Suns fan or advising the Suns, you don't think that if you want to get back to the finals or at least the playoffs, you don't think it is key that Chris Paul be on the team?
If I think it's key that he's back on the team, yes, it is key. But I have to look at the needs of the team overall. Because at the end of the day, yes, he is a very good point guard. Don't let we've ragged on him a bit on this show. We've said that he's making a lot of mistakes and everything like that, but he really is a good player. But what you kind of have to weigh the needs of the team, right? Do you kind of keep this team intact how it is now, and then come next year you still faced with the same problem? It may not be the Bucks that you facing. It may be it may be, I don't even know. Oh, Joel Embiid and them, the 76ers. That's going to be a bigger problem because you only have DeAndre Ayton dealing with Joel Embiid. If you have the Nets, you have DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. Granted, they're not necessarily big offensive players, but they're people that you need to keep off the board. You see, they're going to have problems when they face teams that have bigger bodies, particularly in the front court or down low. So, wait, hold on. I can't. Say again.
I said they won't have problems with those bigger teams because they won't get there without Chris Paul. That's my point. Like, I think you need to keep Chris Paul and then do what you have to do to ensure get a bigger lineup. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You should try. Well, James Jones should be able to do both. Like,
but then how would that financially? How would that work out then? How do you pay Chris Paul 3 years, 100 or how many ever $1 million? How do you make?
As I said, it's just money. It's just Sarver's money. Like, he can pay those guys. He could probably find one in the draft. They have Jalen Smith. And another thing that's underrated is backup point guard because what Cameron Payne is also a free agent. He has pretty much outplayed his minimum contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have to be brought back or maybe let go and sign someone else. But I mean, I understand what you're saying with the weaknesses, but to me, you can't just let a player of Chris Paul's caliber just walk and expect like his replacement to come and just give you that same production.
But I mean,
Because
but
to me,
here's
that
my
this
thing,
team
right?
does not get.
but
I'll jump in here, guys, and I will say this: the Suns have to win this title right now.
Yeah,
And
but that's not
I
the
agree.
segment.
I
That's not
agree.
the segment. We know your
no,
I
problems.
I'll
do.
explain why.
Yeah, go
The
ahead. Go
Suns
ahead.
have to win this title right now, right?
Agree.
Let's say, for argument's sake, you decide not to pay Chris Paul, which financially makes the most sense of the
It
entire
does.
situation, right? The only way you can afford not to pay Chris Paul is winning the title right now
Agree.
and living with that.
Yep.
If you have any hopes, any small hopes of getting back here, it has to be with Chris Paul on the team. And I hate to admit that. Y'all are correct. Like, this is a 36-year-old guy. By the end of the 3-year $100 million contract he's looking for, he's going to be 39, almost 40. And at the end of the contract, it's going to look bad. It will look bad.
It look real bad.
When you give Chris Paul this money, you are not guaranteed of winning anything. Because as I spoke on an earlier show, what's going to happen? The Lakers are coming back. Clippers are coming back. A certain player by the name of Klay Thompson is going to be healthy, and the Warriors will be back at some stage. Nuggets are coming back. This is a loaded Western Conference. You are not even guaranteed by bringing back Chris Paul that you're going to get in conference finals. That is not a guarantee whatsoever. To the point, and I'm going to say this even as a Suns fan, I would risk to bet the Suns don't make the conference finals in an event that everyone is healthy next season. So even before you get to offseason, your goal is to win right now because I don't think the Suns have a better opportunity, even down 3-2. They're not going to get a better opportunity than the one they have currently in front of them.
No, I completely agree. Oh, sorry, you weren't finished. Sorry.
No, definitely not. So
Sorry.
I will say you have to, and I agree with both of you, you're going to have to pay Mikal Bridges. You're going to have to pay Deandre Ayton.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. If you win the title, I wouldn't pay Chris Paul. I really wouldn't.
I mean, yeah. You already got the
I'd be happy
title.
with the
There's no
title.
need to shell out that money unless you're just
Yeah.
thanking him for the memories and you want him to retire a son and happy feel
It,
thing. And
it
you
looks
you
bad.
and it kind of resigns you to we ain't getting back there.
Right, we're not getting back. I mean, it looks bad. In fact, you know what? No, you're gonna have to pay Chris Paul regardless, because your fans are gonna turn on you if you win a title and you don't sign back Chris Paul, because it
It
will
looks
look
cheap.
like
It looks cheap.
Yeah,
you're gonna look cheap. And if you don't sign back Chris Paul, you're hell well never getting back to this situation. So it brings me to the point, and y'all kind of, pointed at it. This is why the draft process is so important, because you avoid having to pay players that you would already have on your team that you don't have to pay. And I say that by saying again, and not because I am a Wisconsin native, no. How are you not drafting Tyrese Halliburton? Like, I don't understand the teams that passed on him. And Phoenix was won by taking Jalen Smith. I love James Jones to death, and he is my guy. He's a friend of the show. But you can't take Jalen Smith when, and for those who don't know, Tyrese Halliburton is the second best point guard in the last draft behind none other than LaMelo Ball. I'm not saying that this is a guy that easily replaces Chris Paul, but he makes Cameron Payne irrelevant, though. So when Cameron Payne leaves in free agency, because Larry's correct, he has outplayed his contract, and I don't see a scenario where the Suns can afford to bring him back. Not when you have to play Ayton, Chris Paul, and Mikal Bridges. Like, you can kiss Cameron Payne goodbye. But had you drafted Tyrese Halliburton, you don't miss Cameron Payne's impact on the team, because Cameron Payne is just a scorer. With Tyrese Halliburton, you get somebody that can play both guard spots, so he can play alongside CP3 and Devin Booker because he's big enough to defend both the point guard and the two guard. He is an elite shooter already as a rookie. And a guy who can pass the ball so he can play again point guard with Devin Booker on the floor. You have to draft. You can't miss these gems in the draft, and it is going to hurt. So to answer the question, Phoenix has forced themselves to have to pay for all three players because if they don't win the title this year, without Chris Paul or the other two, there's no way in that loaded Western Conference that they even sniff getting past the first round. Neil, you want to hop back in here? I don't know.
No. I agree. That's a very good way of looking at it. I'm bridging both Larry and my point. Because I do agree. First things first, giving Chris Paul that money, especially if you didn't win the championship, don't make sense. So you got to kind of win now and then pay everybody and everybody be happy. You don't make it back. Thanks. But if you're looking to return to the finals after coming out empty-handed this year, paying Chris Paul is going to be a tough ask because you kind of bring back the same band to kind of face all of the healthy teams coming back next year, or you switch it up. You look cheap. You look like you're discarding a pretty great player in Chris Paul, and then you look like you don't have a good enough player, regardless of whomever you bring, how many other point guards you bring, you still can't beat the experience of Chris Paul. So I mean, it's going to be a very hard offseason for the Phoenix Suns, regardless if they win the championship or not. Well, if they win the championship, whatever. Just pay money
Or
for
it could be a pretty easy offseason and they just resign everybody.
Well, that too.
It could be so easy next year, though. Anyhow.
No. I don't expect it to be easy no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Switching teams now, the Milwaukee Bucks. And we've talked about him the entire night. None other than the Greek freak himself, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Larry, I'm going to get with you first. If the Milwaukee Bucks, finish this incredible comeback and win their first title since 1974, is Giannis Antetokounmpo already an all-time great if he captures this Finals MVP, considering the award he already has?
I thought about this a lot throughout the day, and the way I feel about it, I'm not like part of the rings culture. To me, no matter the result, it doesn't really change how I feel about like Chris Paul. Like if Chris Paul loses in this finals, I'm not going to think of him as a worse player. And if they win, I'm not going to say, oh, but he's definitely better than X point guard. I think Chris Paul's resume is pretty much set. A championship will be nice, but I'm not going to bump him up or down on the result of these next two games. Maybe I should, but back to Giannis, I'm going to have to say right now is a bit too early for me. I think having two MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year, already puts you in pretty elite company already. And adding a ring to that, the problem is this ring is kind of not the same as other rings.
Don't do that.
Let's put it that.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
Oh, asterisk is here.
No, I'm not putting the asterisk. I never do that. A ring is a ring, but it would have been a lot different. I would have felt a lot different about Giannis and the Bucks if they plowed through healthy teams. I could tell you that. So the fact that they kind of like struggled through the playoffs, and even in this series, I mean, I'm just saying it's not going to change my mind of Giannis, the player. His legacy will obviously be better, but the player Giannis, I think he's no different than what he was like 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like he's still an amazingly dominant player, has the same strengths and he has the same weaknesses. This ring isn't going to make his jump shot better. It's not going to make his free throw shooting better. It just means that he was in a position where all the chips weren't against him then. Like he didn't play against a defense that was built to stop him, or an offense that was built to take advantage of Budenholzer's defense. Sometimes championships are just about luck. So long story short, no, not going to change. I mean, yeah, it's about luck. Yeah.
Same thing. If the Bucks win, does this make Giannis an all-time great already?
All-time great. So it's funny when Larry was speaking. I was hearing Dwayne Marcus, shout out Dwayne Marcus with Go Top Podcast, where he would say that Giannis is the worst superstar in NBA history.
Ooh.
I mean, so this is what I think. I think that Giannis. It would help bolster his resume, right? Larry said it. He's a two-time MVP. He's a Defensive Player of the Year. He's a five-time All Star. He's great, and he will be bringing a franchise like a small market franchise like the Milwaukee Bucks a championship, first time in almost 50 years. I think that it would put him into the category of an all-time great. However, he would have to be the bottom of that list if that makes sense because um, Giannis still has to get a jump shot. He still has to, this generation loves closeout games, hero ball. He still has to show that he is the hero because right now, he is essentially doing the heavy lifting for Superman to come in and do the hard work. As a little inside joke.
Bump that earlier in this pod. Didn't we say that hero ball was not good basketball?
Yes, that's why I said there was so many layers to that joke right there. But but no, honestly, Giannis is not a complete player, and I think that that's why a lot of people, Dwayne, Larry just said it, Justin. I think that because he's not a complete player, we are not going to put him in the same conversation as players like not saying that he is a Michael Jordan or he is a Kobe Bryant or he is a Shaquille O'Neal, but to put him in the annals of a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Hakeem Olajuwon. Giannis is not that. Giannis is not as much as he is a series-defining player. He is not like it's so strange. Like all I've been saying all series long, this is a strange thing. He's a dominant player, but is he really a dominant player? Is he a superstar? But he is a superstar. You know what I mean? Like he's a great player, and I think he's an all time great.
He's flawed.
Say again.
He's flawed.
Yes, he's flawed. He's flawed, and I think that's
Right.
why a lot of people are some of his biggest detractors because he doesn't have a sweet fadeaway jumper.
Strong and strong weaknesses.
Right, exactly. Giannis is who he is, and he makes no apology for it. He makes no excuses for it. He puts his head down, gets to the ring at 7 feet. He runs like a deer, no pun intended, and he can't shoot a lick. He can't shoot a free throw. He can't shoot a bank shot. He can't shoot a mid range. He cannot shoot. So, when we look at some of these players that we talk about all-time greats, we look at players that are complete, players that are finished, players that have a skill set that's far beyond Giannis. I still think, though, because of where he is, the market that he is in, the skill set that he has, he is unique. He is the Greek freak. He is not your prototypical 7-foot guy, or he's not a Dirk Nowitzki. He is not a Kevin Durant. He's not a Shaq. So he is who he is, and I think that because of that and because of his impact on this series and his impact on games, I still think that he would have to be put into the greatest of all time should he win. But he would not obviously be like no one is saying he's a top 15, 10 player of all time, but he would be up there. He would be definitely a unique character or a unique player in any era to see how he would do. Can you imagine Giannis in the 50s? Can you imagine Giannis in the 90s? Can you imagine Giannis in the early 2000s even? Like, I think that he impacts the game to the point where, yes, you'll say he's an all-time great, but to say he's an all-time great, people all of a sudden think like talking about Shaq, like comparing him to Kobe. Oh, he got to be better than Dirk, or I'm just saying he's huh?
Better than Kobe.
No, hold on now. Let's not sully the reputation of the show by telling untruths. But yeah, to me he's an all-time great. It's just that he will be no entering the conversation or no, entering the annals of great players all time.
All right, guys. So hold my beer.
Oh dear.
If Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you know me, I'm not a prisoner of the moment like most people with their own sports show, and who happen to put their name in a sports show as well.
This is gonna be rough, Larry.
But here goes. If Giannis Antetokounmpo wins this title, and undoubtedly he will be named Finals MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, wait for it, guys, will be a top 25 player for me already.
What? Okay,
Already.
question. I have a question. Do you rate Giannis above Kawhi?
All time?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Not,
Carmel,
So that
hold
means
on?
Kawhi.
You rate him a bit?
So that means Kawhi has to be a top 20 player to you all time.
top 20. Kawhi Leonard is top 25 player
Is
for me.
Okay. Continue.
is
Go
Karl
on.
Malone a top 10 player of all time?
Oh, that's
So not top
no
10.
shadow
Sorry,
of a
not
doubt,
top
you know?
10. 25.
Yeah, but that goes to the question. I'm not Stephen A. Smith that thinks that Donovan Mitchell is the
Donovan
best
Mitchell.
Utah Jazz player of all time. Like, come on, no. Yeah, like,
No. This brings up so many questions that we don't have time for. I would like to hear these 25 people that you got in this
That
list,
well, we
that
Ian,
don't
could be
or
have
a
time to
24.
list them
whole
all.
show. That has to
We
be
don't
his
have
own
time to
show.
list them all. But when let us say, for argument's sake, that he wins his title, and I disagree with Larry that titles don't change things because there's a reason that we don't have Karl Malone in the top 10 of all time. No one, and that's because he was not able to beat Michael Jordan in any of those two title appearances. Like, had Karl Malone won two of those, we would be speaking of Karl Malone as a top 10 player without a shadow of a doubt, because he would have two titles, he would have an MVP, he would have at least one Finals MVP. He's the second leading scorer of all time and seventh in rebounds. Like, there would be no doubt we would be talking Karl Malone as a top 10 player had he won those two face-offs against Michael Jordan. So this is where I disagree that titles don't count. If Giannis Antetokounmpo were to win this title this year, this is a two-time MVP, a defensive player of the year, and then a finals MVP, all within your first 8 seasons in the league. No, guys, like, and again, I'm not a prisoner of the moment. Y'all know me. I'm not about that.
You sure?
But how many players have that resume? Like, how many players really already have that resume as it stands? Because even LeBron James does not have a defensive player of the year. And obviously, when I say an all-time great, I'm not putting Giannis in the category of top 10. Like, you have a lot to do to get up in there.
You
And
can't even put him. You can't even put him in top 15, top 20 because he doesn't have a jump as a wing player.
Oh, hold on. I don't know, but I have no problem with pushing the top 20. But in terms of 10, no, I don't have any 10. But were he to win this title, you cannot look at me and honestly believe that he's not already better than Isaiah Thomas's career. And I'm sure that you both have Isaiah Thomas.
I agree with you, but I don't
And
rate
I'm sure
Isaiah
both of
Thomas
you
all that
have.
high.
Yeah,
Well, fair
yeah.
enough.
He
But
doesn't
I
get
know
me love. He
Neil
froze
and
out Jordan.
there are the most people will tell you they have Isaiah Thomas in the top 25. And when you look at Giannis's resume already without the titles, it's already better. So if Giannis wins a title, he would already have the same amount of finals MVPs as Isaiah Thomas. He will have 2 more regular season trophies than Isaiah Thomas and a defensive player of the year, all before turning 30. It is going to be impossible on the career arc that Giannis is hiding in now not to see Giannis Antetokounmpo already as a top 25 player, to the point I'm going to say this, obviously this is like goes without saying, I find it hard to name 25 players, and I do have a list of 25 just in case
Of course.
viewers are wondering. I find it hard to name 25 players that have played the game that are already all-time better than Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sorry.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Neil, but I have a question. So, let's say the Bucks don't win, and
Right.
Giannis is still his ever dominant self in these next 2 games, but the Bucks lose.
Yes.
So does that mean he's no longer in that top 25? Like, the way I feel, the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like the result of these games, we know basketball is a team sport.
Yes.
And if Giannis is still his dominant self over these next 2 games, and don't get me wrong, this series has been pretty close. So these games could go either way. So Drew making that steal, that's not necessarily on Giannis per se. So if they lose the series, is he still a top 25 player to you?
Probably. Because I probably feel like
Okay,
he's top 25 player
I can live with that. I can live with that.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I probably feel that way, but we can't pretend that unfortunately titles don't carry weight because they bring up the Karl Malone situation.
They do carry weight. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of things, when I brought up the luck thing and who your teammates are, that goes a long way into the outcome of the game where that Giannis didn't have any control of it. We could look at see what he has done, his resume, but then let's say Chris Middleton turns into Kate Middleton and just has a terrible last two games. We can't put that on Giannis. So
we can't put it on Giannis.
But you asked me the question, and they probably still view Giannis as a top 25.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. I think Giannis is really good, so I have no problem with you having Giannis that high. I probably wouldn't put him there yet because obviously his career is not done. But 2 MVPs, Defense Player of the Year,
5-10 All-Star.
That's like really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that too, but what I was saying,
and he's still pretty young.
Yeah, and he's still pretty young, 26. And you know, I just want to close with this segment by saying, you know, he's such a unique player. We call him the Greek Freak, and that's for a reason, right? I think that because he is so unique, you have to start challenging what makes an all-time great, challenging what makes an MVP, challenge what makes a successful player in this era of basketball, because by and large, a lot of fans only know the last 15, 20 years of basketball. They know that that's hero ball, right? But when you look at Giannis and you look at how he is impacting the game on so many ends, on so many levels, you know, the mere fact that we are asking this question and we can't come to a definitive yes or no, or definitely a definitive no, it has to be that we're working on changing the show's name anyhow, Justin. Don't want to tell you, but no, seriously, Giannis is an amazing player, and I think that he is at least at the very end gonna kind of challenge the stereotypical all-time great when all is said and done.
Oh, and so two things, because I'm not gonna let Neil close up this segment after that blasphemous statement.
Of course,
Neil, Larry was wrong. I do have Giannis above Kawhi, by the way. I now remember that. I do have Giannis above Kawhi. Yeah, I do. Yeah, those 2 regular season MVPs, yeah. Those carry a lot of weight.
Man,
and
you know that I have the power to cut this show, right? You know that? You know I can hit stop. I can hit stop stream. No, this is I can't abide by this. Come on, Justin. Better Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, and then secondly, you asked, sorry, and I know there are those who may or may not know my top 10. Giannis is not in it yet, but I'm going to rattle it off for you.
Yet?
Yeah, Giannis is even.
Listen, Giannis will have to get a jump shot like Steph Curry to get top 10.
Come, let me tell you.
Do Shaq, Kareem, Wilt, and Bill Russell have jump shots? Nope. So why do we look at Giannis any different? So
don't do that. You're talking.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Wait, hold on. Giannis is a big man.
Hold on a minute. But you give Shaq, you know that Shaq is so dominant that he changed the rules of the game. Changed hack a shot is a part of Shaq.
I want you to tell me, list me a finals appearance that Shaq's numbers have, I don't know, been far superior than Giannis's finals MVP
2000?
I don't know what this is not coming to talk about. No.
2000? 2001?
No. Even 2000, these numbers are comparable. Shaq himself
said it. Comparable.
I said, name me a finals in which Shaq's numbers have been far superior than Giannis.
Hold on a minute.
You know me,
Shaq did it 3 years in a row.
And you know me, I'm the biggest Shaq fan. You know.
Yeah, but Justin, let's come on, don't do that, because you gotta look at errors. You gotta look at the teams that they're playing. Hold on a minute.
You just said
agree with Neil.
Giannis needs a jump shot. I didn't name you 4 top 10.
But just saying, Shaq didn't need a jump shot back in 2000.
No,
but the game has changed. Centers are taking threes, Justin. So come on, don't do that.
Hold on.
Don't do that.
Let me finish the segment. Name me the centers that taking threes that in the finals right now.
Brook Lopez.
Oh, okay. So that are good.
Brook Lopez. Don't move the goalposts.
Yeah, don't move it. You got him above Kawhi, though.
Okay, so let's wrap up the segment.
I have him above Kawhi.
Yeah, let me move on. Let me.
So, for those who don't know, let me give you a top 10 because Giannis is not in it as yet. And I don't have Mike number 1 or LeBron. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 1, Mike 2, LeBron 3, Wilt Chamberlain number 4, Magic 4, Bill Chamberlain, number 5. Larry Bird, 6. Tim Duncan, 7. Shot 8. Hakeem Olajuwon, 9. And Bill Russell, number 10. There's one notable absence I know the entire world, but we'll skip over that quickly. So to Team USA.
Quickly now, you're running.
Pardon me?
This should be quick. Let's go. Let's go.
This is gonna be quick. This is gonna be quick.
Team USA lost 2 exhibition games, one shockingly to Nigeria, the other one not so shockingly to me, to Australia, before eventually bouncing back against Argentina and against my favorite international team, Spain. Guys, with the roster constructed, and we'll go with the guest, Larry, do you favor Team USA or do you like the roster going into the Olympics that start within a week's time?
Do I like the team? Yeah, I mean, it has some players that I like. I mean, I think Kevin Durant is probably the best international player I've ever seen. His numbers from the World Championships in 2010 to the Olympics 2012 speak for themselves. Absolutely dominant performance. Obviously, Miami Heat center Bam is on the team.
No bias there, right?
No, of course not. Of course, I'm object Kentucky though, but you know.
Oh my god.
Well, Damian Lillard, probably one of the best point guards in the world. Who else is on this roster? Well, Zach LaVine is in health and safety protocols. Jeremy Grant, Jason Tatum. Am I missing anybody important other than JaVale, Keldon Johnson?
Yeah,
and the 3 players playing in the finals.
Right,
3 players playing in the finals. I think I do like the team from a team building standpoint. It's not perfect. Obviously, we don't know who was available, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, but I do like the team. Do I think they're favored? I'd have to say yes. And the reason is because, well, Durant has won. And to me, this Olympic field is extremely weak. Very weak. Spain, Argentina, these teams are has-beens, right? Yeah, I didn't know the basketball at all, but I was shocked that Paul Gasol and Marc Gasol were playing, to be honest. I was like, what?
Paul Gasol and Luis Scola, swear to you,
Paul gosh,
and Luis Scola,
I love Scola.
Are going to play till they're 75 years old. I swear to you.
I love Luis Scola. I didn't love Luis Scola 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And the man is still. I respect it though. I respect it a lot. Yeah. And you don't have one of the powerhouses that are missing. Lithuania is not in it. Croatia I think is not. Croatia's in it. Is Croatia in it?
Hopefully Marshall will bring it up when we get
Yeah. But I know Lithuania didn't make it. So because it's like a smaller field, the competition is not as good this year. So I think USA should still be the favorites. Don't mind the exhibition losses. 1, their exhibitions. 2, the team was not complete. And losing out on Bradley Beal and, well, to me, Kevin Love, losing on him is addition by subtraction because he wasn't going to provide anything of value anyhow. So, but Bradley Beal, I think, would be sorely missed. However, I think Devin Booker for finals appearance, either where he's won and he'll be exhilarated, or where he's lost and he's going to be looked for redemption. I think Devin Booker is going to be a very difficult mark for any international team that has to face him. So I do favor them, not by a whole lot, and I do like the team because I like the players on the team. It's pretty simple.
Same thing, Neil. Do you like the roster? Should Team USA still be favored?
Yes, Team USA should still be favored. I mean, at the end of the day, they still have a collective talent that, especially scoring ways that, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. You got some players out there, man, that can up and light it up in spades. But I don't like this team, man. I don't like it. I mean, you what? You have you just added JaVale McGee. He's 7 feet. Other than that, you have what? Bam Adebayo at 6'8". You have Jeremy Grant 6'8". You have the ghost of Draymond Green 6'6". I mean, yes, you have a lot of firepower, but I'm worried about the front court. I'm worried about. I know, Larry. I know it don't matter. You just get up and down and enjoy yourself, right? But anytime you've got a team like area that is big, and can kind of, I mean, runs the exhibition, everything like that. But I don't like the team personally because I feel they need a down low presence and a bigger front court. I think that run a gun, especially with Pop at the helm, you can be running up and down, enjoying yourself, throwing in some threes and stuff like that. But I can see this team, and Larry did make a point that the field is weak. It is not like what it was before, but I still feel as though it is not as, like, I don't see this roster and be like, oh my, it's gonna be domination. I could see them having close games. My air quotes close games in that. Yeah, you might see some teams try to give them a scare here and there, but I don't like the team. I think they need a bigger front court. I think that the talent is amazing. There are players on the team that I love: Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker. Love those players. I love Bam Adebayo. I really do love those players, but I still feel
Sounds
like
like you like the team.
no. I like the players, not your team. I like the players, not your team. Come on, no.
That's all.
No. I don't like the team.
You would like the players in Lakers. I see you.
I mean, Damian Lillard. They can't find me for tampering. So Damian Lillard, if you are unhappy of living in Oregon, not getting anywhere out to the first or second round, you can come to LA, man. But we
That
get
got beat in the first round. But
that's no problem. We get Kyle Kuzma. He looked good, and he would look good up in Oregon colors and stuff. Yeah, but Wesley Matthews. So anyhow, yeah, but that's my take. I don't like the team. Don't like how it's constructed.
Justin don't like the team.
Yeah, but that's the only reason this on the docket. This is the only reason this in the production notes. Because I know Justin will ride on them and have at least a good 5 minutes talking about how bad this team is. So Justin, we put the spotlight for you.
Yeah.
Take it away, my brother.
Like you, I don't like the team, but for completely different reasons. I actually like the front court of Draymond and Bam because they are good passers. Now, here's my shameless plug, like I do it in all my shows. I'm gonna plug myself here quickly. For those who don't know, I once served as the chairman of selectors on a national team, 2007. You can look it up for Barbados national. Yep.
You want me to put? You want me to put out the article now?
No, I didn't put it in the server. So you won't have it there.
Just being facetious.
But all jokes aside, it was just a title because reality situation, the two coaches, by Rock and why am I missing his name right now? Derek Amy. They just chose a team that they wanted and they didn't get in their way. But I learned a lot from those two men. And in that, I've told Larry Offset multiple times, when you're touring, when you're traveling away from home, the number one thing you need is point guards. And you need 3 of them. This may sound a lot, but you need 3. You need a starting point guard, you need a backup point guard, and you need somebody just in case of illness and injury. Like, it is a rule of thumb for touring teams that you get 3 point guards, like no matter what. May it seem like a lot if you have 12, but trust me, you're not going to play 12 players. And if one of those players are not playing, is not a backup point guard, you're in trouble. When I look at the construction of this roster, it is 2 point guards short. Not even 1, but 2. And the reason I say that is I don't view Damian Lillard as a point guard in international basketball. In NBA, that's fine. Like, he is what it is. You put the ball in scoring point guards' hands, like him, Trae Young, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, whatever. That's fine. Russell Westbrook, go on and on and on. International basketball is a completely different thing, like we all know. FIBA rules are different. Like, you can put a man in the middle of the key and he doesn't have to leave it. There's no defensive 3-second. But the biggest difference is that teams pick you up full court. So what we've seen with Milwaukee doing with Chris Paul is what you're going to see teams do. Every single team is going to do it to Team USA. You're not allowed to walk the ball over half. They pick you up 90 feet. And I can assure you, I know Damian Lillard well enough. He doesn't want that. Damian Lillard does not want the stress of being hounded 90 feet from the basket just to get the ball over the half. Because reality is Damian Lillard has spent his entire career in Portland being the number 1 option and being a scoring guard. If that's fine. So I say that to say, when these finals are done, Drew Holiday, for me, because he is a natural facilitator, should be the starting point guard alongside Damian Lillard. I think Damian Lillard should be shifted to the 2 because you're going to need a facilitator. And when you do that, this team no longer has a backup point guard or even a point guard to replace any of the 2 were like let's say for argument's sake, somebody comes down with COVID. They're in problems. And you may say, but Justin, why does this team need a point guard? Well, let us go through the recent iterations of the teams that have won. 2008, the Redeem team. That team had 3, not even 1, not 2, but 3 point guards. They had Jason Kidd, they had Chris Paul, they had Deron Williams. They go 2012, arguably the best Team USA since the original Dream Team in 92. They may only have had 2, but they had 2 pure point guards, Chris Paul, Deron Williams. Even 2016, one of the worst, I did not like the construction of that team. They still had, I want to say, Kyrie Irving, who maybe not a pure point guard, but behind him you had Kyle Lowry, and I'm missing someone else. This team is lacking a pure passer, and I say that because what also teams are going to come to US, not just to pick them up full court. You're going to see a lot of 2-3 zones. And you don't want the person bringing down the court to be the first person firing the basketball because, like me and Larry and Neil have talked also, you need to be able to connect the dots. And it's good that your front court players, namely Bam Adebayo and Draymond Green, are phenomenal passers. But that's not going to be good enough. You need somebody whose primary role on this team is just to facilitate. Look at all these players. These players are accustomed being their primary scorers. Kevin Durant, and granted, let me say this quickly. Team USA has to be favored just because Kevin Durant is on the team alone. Like, we've seen Kevin Durant by himself win titles, namely in 2010 in our World Championship squad. Like, he did it. But Kevin Durant was so damn good, like, it made no difference. We see Kevin Durant, not exactly a playmaker. Jason Tatum, definitely not a playmaker. Like, all of these players, Zach LaVine, all of these players are accustomed being the primary option, scoring option on their teams. Now you're asking them to be willing sharers. Look at 2008 again. Even as you had Chris Paul, Jason Kidd, and Deron Williams, your best player is LeBron James, whose greatest asset, again, is his passing. 2012, again, LeBron James is there. So you have a litany of playmaking options. This team, to me, outside of when Drew Holiday joined the team, outside of the front court players, is devoid of playmaking options because you're going to start Damian Lillard as your point guard. And we also know Damian Lillard is not looking to pass anything. Damian Lillard wants to score. And so far, I think he is the leading scorer on this Team USA in the exhibitions thus far. I don't think that is going to work when teams pick him up 90 feet for him to be your primary scoring option alongside Kevin Durant. I think this team is 2 point guards short of being a great team. However, because Kevin Durant is on it, they're going to win gold regardless. So my point will be mute.
And also, I find like the guard play on these other teams is kind of poor nowadays. You know, who's the best guard that they're going to fare against? Patty Mills?
Probably Patty Mills.
Old Milos Teodosic, probably. I really don't know.
I mean, he can still be heady.
Well, no. Luka Doncic is going to be in the Olympics. So, yeah, that's the best guard that they're going to face. Again, but to Larry's point, this Olympic field, as opposed to the last 3 years, is considerably weaker simply because we're now out of the golden generation of Spain. We're now out of the golden generation of Argentina. If Ben Simmons were to play for Australia, which he's not going to, I would, give an edge up on Australia. France is also out of their golden generation. So yeah, this team.
They had a golden generation.
Well,
they had Tony Parker and what's his name? Staple toe.
I mean, they still have Gobert, don't they?
They still have Gobert.
That's their golden era.
Batum and Nando De Colo.
Mm-hmm.
But all those players are older now, and they're golden. I mean, they had a golden generation. It's just that Spain, as I told you, beats them on site. So they just didn't win anything from a Euros to World to Olympic medals. They just, and unfortunately, they're all now old. So the Olympic field is weak. So Team USA still should win, but I don't like the construction of the roster.
But
what I do like,
hold on,
go
Justin.
ahead.
Before you go on, I took a peep into the YouTube comments, and Sherlock Hemlock, thanks for joining us. He was saying Damian Lillard went to the Western Conference Finals twice. I know that, but I want him in purple and gold. So I would say anything, which means why would you go out there to lose in the first and second round, brother?
You should ask if Damian Lillard won any games in those Western Conference Finals.
Listen, all I know
I
is
don't
think they won it.
Come on home, brother. Come on home. Closer to Oakland.
The MVP of this show, Marsha, reminded us USA is in Group A with Iran, the Czech Republic, and France. As I told you, France is out of their golden generation now. And Group B, Nigeria, Germany, Italy, Australia. I think we should all feel comfortable. I think Australia really, in terms of roster balance, I think to me that's the best team in this field right now. Group C, aging Argentina, Slovenia, Japan, and Spain. Both Argentina and again Spain are out of their golden generation. Still solid rosters. Should be able to give the US a push, but I'm not sure they will win. And yeah, those are the three groups in the Olympics. So for my money, I think that Australia, in my estimation, is indeed the biggest challenge, and Slovenia to a lesser extent with none other than Luka Doncic. But what we also, Marsha is not going to like is that we have gone 46 minutes past our running time.
My goodness. Y'all could talk, man. Jeez.
So I will let Larry close off by giving his exit, whatever he wants to say right now.
Fair to dare. Let's go.
Oh no.
I shouldn't have given him that. Neil, plug your podcast quickly before we get up here.
So many things I could say right now, but anyhow. Yes, everybody, check out the Senate podcast. We are on every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock. We start playing some music and live streaming at 7:45. You will hear about life from the perspective of men, whether it be fatherhood, relationships, just anything, mental health. We talk about it, we get into it. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about, last week we talked about the women having multiple children from multiple partners. We're going to be talking about the men, and we're going to hold them accountable and just get into it. So join us. We're on Facebook, YouTube, the Senate podcast. We are Instagram, the Senate 246, the Senate podcast 246, sorry. And Senate in session for any fan submissions. Senate in session at gmail.com for any fan submissions or anything you want us to address or talk about. So yeah, that's about it for me.
It's a general safe space for men, but we know this spot is not a safe space for our international athletes all over the field. So for Larry Marshall and Neil Hoyt, I am the Justin of this Just In signing out. Thank you so very much. You can check us every Monday at this same spot, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we will try our best not to go past 9, but I can't guarantee that. So again, for Larry and Neil, I am Justin of this Justin signing out. Thank you, good night, and get that Venom shirt off of my screen, please.
All right, good night, everybody.
I don't have a mark on my face, and my upset son in this one, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. The God's with the kingdom out of here, just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?